So why this game? Well, to be perfectly honest, I've decided to go on a quest, an adventure if you will, and it's basically, to find the best game you can pay for $5. Yeah, so is Shuffs the best game for $5 that you can find on Steam? Let's find out.
So what is Shuffs? I don't think I can describe it better than the developer did, so I will just go with his description. Shuffs is a physics-based puzzle game which makes use of platforming controls as a means of hurling projectiles wherever a projectile may need hurling. It's essentially mini-golf, but the kind of mini-golf where you can hit the ball straight into the air, jump after it, and whack it mid-air into the face of a fire-spitting demon.
And does it work? Let's find out.
As usual with games that are released in less than a month of me reviewing them, I will leave major plot details to a minimum, even though I don't feel like you need it with this one since the story is mostly tongue-in-cheek. I mean, the main character you play as in this game is a scarecrow, while his sidekick is a crow. Yes, the one that will guide you throughout this adventure is a crow, who read a bunch of dad jokes before you even hit the start button. Which, speaking of the start button, you can use a controller with this game even though nothing about the game tells you that you could. The controller will work, but all the buttons will be displayed as keyboard key presses. Now, I don't know if this was intentional or not, or whether the developer just lucked out with whatever Unity version he was using, because the start button in this game is by pressing the right analog stick, which is really confusing because the whole game uses like 3 buttons. So how hard is it to map pressing start to the start button?
But anyway, so what's my spoiler-free synopsis of this game?
The farm you are working in as a scarecrow is facing a few problems, namely giant roaches and spear-wielding roosters, which causes the owner to basically just say, "I'm too old for this shit," and take off. And now you are out of the job. And with that, you take your bindle, hey, I learned a new word, and journey off to discover more of the unknown land known as Bowkin County, crossing farms, swamps, and an industrial district.
Now, the game does introduce quite a number of characters, namely a witch who looks a little eerily too much like my own mother on a good day, and a wolf that can't jump over rocks to save his own life, and a cow that's afraid of bees. Hey Gables, are cows afraid of bees?
You expect me to do that hey Google thing, aren't you? Go f yourself!
I guess this is where we talk about the gameplay.
Finally, we are at the simple bits of this game. Each level is divided into about 3 sections separated by a sign that says onwards, after which there is a slow fade to black. Essentially, the different sections act as puzzle rooms. Since that is what this game mostly is, the basic gameplay mechanic is that you have to hurl objects like frogs, chickens, and more at either enemies or switches in the level to unlock the next section. Now, while that sounds simple enough, unlike in the greatest golfing simulator ever, Sfida, or just a regular golf game, you don't get an arrow or any indication that will let you know where the object you are hurling is going to land. Now, this wouldn't be a problem if the physics were consistent. I mean, I'm sure they are, but more than half the time, objects never go where I want them to, since the direction they are sent flying to seem random most of the time, which is why I have to do this hit and jump and hit again thing, which quite frankly to me indicated that this game was never meant to be fun. And from what I read, I think the developer agrees with me on this one, since he said, and I quote, "This is a game for those who don't feel as though they've earned their victory if said victory was obtained without experiencing the inclination to scream at their computer at least once." Notice he never mentions that you will enjoy the journey of our little scarecrow friend. The developer straight up tells you that finishing this game will be achieved thanks to a broken controller or 2. Now, fortunately, the game is very forgiving when it comes to checkpoints and continues. Well, to be honest, I don't think the checkpoints matter that much, since this is mostly a puzzle game, which means that the sections in each stage aren't that long if you know what you are doing. When you start the game, you get 3 lives. If you run out of lives, you restart at the beginning of a section, not the stage. If you get hit, you are restarted at a checkpoint. To increase your lives in this game, you need to collect 100 pieces of corn, which is this game's equivalent for rings, I guess.
And now with the basics covered, I get to jump into my major issues with this game.
To the game's credit, the gameplay slowly evolves over time, whether it be using a croc to fling a rock at a bee's nest or using a spider's string to fly. Yeah, I don't know what this is, but you can do it. That said, there is one little problem though. The gameplay evolves around a mechanic that's frustrating at its worst and mildly entertaining at its best, because no matter what kind of flow you get while playing this game, it will be broken because of the physics in this game. But that was probably the whole point of this game. At least the boss fights were fun. They were very reminiscent of bosses you would find in an NES game, just not as hard. Now, I'm not exactly sure on the total number of levels because I did not complete the game 100%. The developer states that the whole game is about 2 to 3 hours long and then adding an additional 2 hours if you would want to unlock the true ending. Personally, I have no clue how accurate that is since it took me about 10 hours to get to where I did in the game, which does not include the true ending. That being said, let me explain how you go on about 100%ing this game. In every level, there are crows that you need to save. Save 3 of them and you unlock the bonus level at the end of a stage. Beat the bonus level and you will get about 75 cents. You will need a certain amount of money if you would want to complete the game. And that's where I stopped, because while I'm more than happy to go the extra mile if the game is fun, like going for the true ending Super Meat Boy, by going through the Dark World version of each level, I find that hard to do in this game, where the gameplay, while not bad, is just mildly entertaining, and mildly entertaining is not enough to carry this game to the true ending. But then again, I was not expecting a masterpiece to begin with, since I bought this game during the Steam summer sale for $3. It's probably back at $5 now, and I don't know how I feel about this game at that price. Nonetheless, I'm gonna give this game a thumbs up in the Steam store, because while I honestly don't feel comfortable giving the game a thumbs up, it's definitely not a thumbs down, especially not for a game that I bought for just $3. Anyways, speaking of Super Meat Boy, let's talk about the graphics in this game. Remember when Super Meat Boy was just Meat Boy in Newgrounds? Well, this game looks exactly like that, except for the fact that it runs a little smoother because it's not using Adobe Flash. Thank God that thing died. So overall, the game looks just okay. I mean, it looks like a game made by one person, and I can imagine some people being bothered by it, and rightly so. As for the music, well, it served its purpose. It's music for a game, and that's all I can say about it.
And yeah, this was my review of Shuffs. Is this the best game you can buy for $5? Well, I highly doubt it. But even that said, even at $5, I would personally still wait for a price drop. I mean, I did yell at my TV quite a lot, but I didn't hate the game overall. And I wish that said something, but keep in mind, my tolerance to video games is generally way higher than other people's, so you might get frustrated with the game way faster than I did. And yeah, with that being said, for those of you who are watching, wherever you may be in this world, thank you guys for watching, and stay alive until the next video. Take care.